All right, welcome back, Bronco Country. It's been a while, about a week actually, but welcome to the Broncos Zone podcast, part of the Elevated Pulse family of podcasts by the fans, for the fans, diehards only. I'm Eric, and tonight I've got with me Vince and Zach. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
Doing all right.
Doing good. It's hot, and we are 17 days away from training camp, baby. Let's go.
Man, it's so funny how fast like time flies sometimes when you're not paying attention. Like you get kind of caught up in like everything that's going on in the summer with vacations and things like that, and then you blink and it's like, wait a minute, we're halfway through July. Training camp starts in like 2 weeks. So yeah, it's been pure excitement at my house. Vince, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the only one that pays attention to the Broncos in my household. I've got a 6-year-old who enjoys watching the games for the most part. Her favorite part is when Thunder makes an appearance. But
Nice.
yeah, I mean, I'm ready for it. I'm really curious what the season's going to bring. I think there's going to be some ups and downs, but yeah, we won't find out until we start getting through training camp.
Zach, it looked like you just got back from vacation, if I'm not mistaken. So you have a good time?
Well rested. It was the baby moon. So the last trip as a family of 2. I was fortunate enough to be in Nantucket and in other parts of Cape Cod. Couple celebrity sightings.
Nice.
Ryan Day. Good old coach at Ohio State. My wife's family is all Michigan, so like it took me every ounce to not just say like "go blue" in his face. I immediately texted my father-in-law. But cool to see him there. I don't think many people recognize him, but that's kind of the Nantucket vibe. You don't chase the celebs on the island. And we just missed Troy Aikman. We ate at the restaurant he ate at like the night before. I saw it on his Instagram and I was like, damn. Me and my wife's like, who is this guy? Like, what does this matter? I'm like, let me gawk on my sports guys. Relax.
Nice. Well, hopefully when you saw Ryan Day, I've never seen Ryan Day with like a smile on his face or looking anything like he just wants to beat the crap out of whoever's standing in front of him. So hopefully he didn't have that look.
He was walking with a mission and like no smile, straight ahead. So like that's just his resting face.
Well, that's
red as the Buckeyes.
I'm at least I'm glad to see he is who he shows who he is. Then
resting coach face.
Yeah,
resting coach face. RCF. You heard it here first from Vince.
Well, we have hit kind of like I won't say a dead week in sports, but it's kind of like, there's the MLB All-Star game. There's actually a break in sports. I think on Wednesday there's no sports outside of the World Cup. So we've kind of hit that midsummer lull, I guess, just before training camp kicks off. But I thought before we jumped into things tonight, I just wanted to take a second to thank all of our listeners. We're now up over 110 YouTube followers and subscribers, and really that's all due to them. So we just wanted to say thank you. Keep listening, keep telling your friends about us, spreading the word, sharing our content as we continue to grow. It's an exciting time over here at Elevated Pulse Sports, and we hope that you're enjoying what we put out, especially on the Broncos front, but we do have other podcasts as well. So be sure to check everything out. But as I mentioned, boys, it's been, at least in my house, it's been the summer of the World Cup. I know we're down to, I guess it was the Final Four. Technically now the Final Three looked like Spain kind of punched their ticket with a 2-0 win today over France. Big upset. Yeah. I kind of thought France was going to be the team that kind of looked like they were the favorites at least. But it's Spain. They looked they control the ball, and they looked really fast today for whatever reason. But I mean, it's just been an awesome tournament. Maybe the best World Cup that I can I can really remember. I mean, some of the games have just been ridiculous. Have you guys had any opportunities to watch? Any games stand out to you at all? Anything that you've taken notice of?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to turn this into a football podcast into a football podcast, but I've watched the vast majority of the games. I'm Mexican and Spanish, and my last name is French. I think I have a little bit of French somewhere in there. My family's from the Basque region, and so I have a lot of rooting interests. There's been a lot of good games. I almost always cheer for the African teams first, just because I feel like they've endured a lot, and it was the knockout stages have been a little rough on them. They've had some bad officiating, but overall it's been really entertaining. Some people have knocked the format this time around, but I've enjoyed it. I like it. They're talking about making it like 60 some teams next time around. That feels like a little much. I mean, it's all a money grab at this point, but I I mean, it happens once every 4 years. You want to make it 60 some teams. I'll be happy with more World Cup games.
I mean, we had a streak there where there was a game every day for a couple weeks. And it was pretty awesome. And speaking of these kind of like small countries, Cape Verde just like blowing up. So I get, I guess that's the grifty organization of FIFA's potential gift back to some of these small countries is boost tourism, because everyone starts searching like, where is this place? Never even heard of it.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes the World Cup cool, though. Is
Totally.
sometimes you get these guys in these countries that you definitely can't point to on a map, and you have no clue where they're from, and then they come out and they, this is something I guess I probably knew, but it didn't come to the forefront of my head until today when I was watching that match between France and Spain. Spain's beat every team that they've played except for one, and that was Cape Verde. They actually tied them 0-0. So if Spain goes on to actually win the World Cup, I think that's kind of a feather in the cap for Cape Verde to say, hey, we didn't lose to the world champs. So it's kind of cool. But I mean, coming into the tournament, there was a lot of things. Affordability was kind of a huge question mark. People were saying, this is just a huge topic in America. Are people what's the attendance going to look like? And, with travel costs and people, having border issues and all sorts of things were kind of up in the air. But I think we can really officially put those concerns to bed. The 2026 World Cup, we've broken an all-time cumulative attendance record, which, lo and behold, we had the attendance record from 1994, the last time it was hosted in the United States. So maybe not a super shock, but the number actually surprised me until I dug a little deeper. The previous total attendance record was just over 3.5 million. And so far this year, we're over 6.5 million in 101 matches. So that, of course, made me say, well, why is it we've doubled? That doesn't seem right. Well, it's because, Vince, as you alluded to, they've expanded. And now we had 52 total matches in 1994. This year, we'll have 104 total matches. So I think that makes a lot of sense that we would double the attendance record. But I don't know. It's been pretty cool to see the stadiums sold out and hear all the chants and everything like that.
And the stadiums are bigger here in North America than they are elsewhere. So that's got a little bit something to do with it. But it's been awesome to see. Even like the U.S. weren't expected to go this far. Brings a ton of excitement. Obviously, there was the drama of the red card, and then a player mysteriously coming back after a conversation was had. But it should excite fans, whether you have never watched a soccer game in your life or you're an avid fan. It's cool to see the U.S. soccer team on the rise, hopefully once again. Women have been there. I don't think we ever celebrate them enough. It's really cool that we've got the Summit team in town now. I think that's going to be a much bigger attraction and get more people into the sport, both men and women. But this is good for the sport. It's going to allow it to go on a rise. Who knows where our Broncos owners go next? Do they start dipping their toe into this? Because I am sure Mr. Kroenke was happy to have his stadium featured as one of the core venues for most of these games.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw two things out there to sort of dovetail from Zach. We want to talk about world-class soccer. We have Lindsay Heaps on the summit. So if you're in the mountain range area, you want to continue to see amazing soccer, go see the summit, go see her play. She's captained the U.S. women's team for a little while now, and she is one of the best players in the world. And I didn't know this. This was a surprise to me during the knockouts. There is a player on the Rapids that played for Australia at this World Cup, and he's been linked to Barcelona, the giant, the football world giant, FC Barcelona. He's an 18-year-old center back, and he took a penalty kick in the knockouts. He hit the crossbar, but, I mean, he's an 18-year-old defensive player who had the guts to step up and take it when veterans on his team didn't. So I like that. But we've got some impressive soccer here that we could go and watch locally in Colorado.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. You're right. He missed the penalty shot, but the cool part about it was you had an 18-year-old kid step up when a bunch of, seasoned veterans refused to do so because they didn't want, to be under that amount of pressure. So that was pretty cool to see a Colorado Rapid get that type of opportunity on a world spotlight, so to say. So, but that's it's a great segue. I know we don't want to turn this into a football podcast, but it's a great segue into our weekly trivia this week. So I came up with one. I wanted to tie the World Cup together with the Broncos. So you might have to do a little bit of math, some backwards math in this, but I'll read the statement and then kind of tell you what we're looking for. So how many times have the Denver Broncos played in a Super Bowl in the same calendar year that a FIFA World Cup was played? What we're looking for is going to be either the year or years, the Super Bowl winner or winners, and the World Cup winner or winners, if you can remember that far back.
Sorry, can you say it one more time?
Yeah. Okay, so how many times have the Denver Broncos played in a Super Bowl in the same calendar year that a FIFA World Cup was played?
Stupid question. Is the World Cup every 4 years?
Yes.
Or has it always been that way?
To my knowledge.
Okay.
I'm sure there were probably some skipped years during world wars or things like that. But
so I know of 1 year for sure. I forget which years the Broncos went to the Super Bowl outside of my lifetime, which feels like a very narcissistic thing to say, but if it's before 1990, I can't remember what years the Broncos went to the Super Bowl. But okay, so they went in 97, 98 season, 98, 99 season, and then they went, was it 2013, the year that they got blown out by the Seahawks?
And then 2015, but
right.
I hope our seasons aren't conflating with calendar years. That might throw us off.
That's the trick part to the question. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So it's their first Super Bowl win against the Green Bay Packers. It was 1998 that the World Cup was played, and it was in France. And France won that one.
Correct. That is one of them.
Thank goodness we've got a Frenchman on the call. Thank you for being in the Basque Country and in bringing us beautiful Basque cheesecake, Vince. That was great. Okay, there's one more.
There might be two more. There's two more.
Two more.
So, 94, 90, 86. The Broncos played in a few Super Bowls in the 80s. Was 86 one of them?
86 was not one of them.
Okay, so 82?
Nope.
Okay, am I doing my math wrong? Because we went from 98 back to 94, 90, 86, 82, 80, 76. Was 76 the Craig Morton Super Bowl against the Broncos?
Nope.
No, that was Super Bowl 12, right? And so that would have been 1972?
I could tell you we've strayed way off course.
Oh, okay.
We don't have to go that far back.
So then 2013, so Seahawks.
So
2014 World Cup then?
Correct. So the Super Bowl is technically played February 2nd, 2014. And the World Cup was hosted, well, I won't give that part away. Well, it was hosted by Brazil in July of 2014. But it didn't give away
won.
Germany.
Yeah,
Germany was the winner.
That was
against
the upset.
Argentina.
Yep. And then there was one other. Vince, you were on track. We just skipped over the year. But so, again, it's 1990 because the Super Bowl was played in January of 1990, January 28th. The Broncos lost to the 49ers. And the World Cup that year was hosted by Italy, which was won by West Germany.
Okay.
So here's the good thing for us. We don't follow negative patterns because the Super Bowl will be in 2027, not the same calendar year as the World Cup.
Exactly. We would have had to have made the Super Bowl last year, played in it this year for the trend to have continued. So, but we could dream. All right. So let's transition from our trivia into we like to talk about the news, whether that's Broncos in the news or just NFL news in general. And I know our main bit of conversation tonight is really going to be around positional rankings throughout the NFL. But for those that did or didn't notice, ESPN dropped their positional rankings. They're kind of dropping them kind of towards the end of last week, and they release a new position group every day, I think through Wednesday or Thursday of this week. But I wanted to talk about one that was just kind of glaring to me, and that is the fact that Bo Nix was just absolutely snubbed by ESPN. He didn't make the top 10. There's an honorable mention, which is another, 7 or 8 guys, 6 or 7 guys. He didn't even make honorable mention. He made the dreaded also receiving votes is Bo Nix. And I mean, to me, that's ridiculous. I don't know who's the guys that are making these lists or anything like that. But I don't know how you have a guy who led a team to a 14-win season, regular season, and then a playoff win, and then an AFC Championship appearance. Obviously, he didn't play in the AFC Championship game, but I think he led the league in comeback victories. Bo Nix put up plenty of stats last year that he should be higher on that list. I certainly should be in the top 10, in my opinion. Vince, what were your kind of knee-jerk reaction when you saw that list?
I mean, I have a lot. I wish you hadn't called me. I don't respect ESPN anymore. And I think that once per article, they do something like this to, as clickbait or share bait. And I mean, cool. Like somebody at ESPN doesn't think Bo Nix is a top 10 quarterback. That's not going to affect Bo at all, which is one of the things I love about him. He does not care about outside noise. And also it literally has no bearing on the season. So, I mean, congratulations to whoever wrote it at ESPN. We're talking about it here for a little bit, but I could care less what ESPN says. Their coverage in sports, but especially football, has been a joke in my mind for quite a while.
Fair enough.
These rankings are what I equate to being the underwear Olympics of the NFL Combine. Maybe that has a little bit more weight, but if we look at the top 10 list, number 1 and number 2, who beat them? Bo Nix. Now, obviously, It's not QB versus QB, but Broncos have beaten the Bills, and we've beaten Josh Allen. And in a playoff game in front of the entire world, nation, whoever was really watching that game, there were millions and millions of people. Josh Allen threw a lot of picks. Now, it was debated on a different radio channel in town this week. Would the Broncos have won the same game if Josh Allen was the QB? What do you guys think? And would we have a better record if Josh Allen was our or QB
was our
last
QB.
season, 14-3. It's really difficult to go 14-3. I know we had a lot of luck. We had a lot of one-score wins. Maybe we get the same record and we win a little bit more convincingly. But are we getting better than 14-3 with Josh Allen? I don't know. Not to say that I don't want Josh Allen. I just don't think that Bo should have been snubbed as bad as he was here. And included other QBs in this top 10 that I'm like, what the hell is Dak Prescott doing in here?
Yeah, that's
Williams.
Exactly. That's where I start to have an issue when I see the Dak Prescotts and Caleb Williams. And look, even Jared Goff. Jared Goff didn't have a great year.
No, not this past year. 2 years ago, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, so Vince, I agree with your take. I mean, it's not really going to make Bo a better quarterback or a worse quarterback, whether or not he's on this list in the top 10 or not. But to me, it's just the continuation of the disrespect that the national sports guys give to the Denver Broncos. It's a flyover city, and for too long, the Broncos just get overlooked. Well, at some point, teams are going to stop overlooking. And I bet you the next time the Broncos play Josh Allen, I bet you he's got that game circled on his calendar because that's probably a game he really wants to win against a quarterback who I feel is really, really underrated, at least on a national scale. We will dive in much deeper into the positional rankings. So I don't want to just focus too much time on that. I know we'll talk more about Bo. So I want to talk a little bit about our running back room. I think that's one of the things that people are kind of looking at this year that might be a little bit more of a differentiator for the Broncos. We have a healthy J.K. Dobbins. We've got R.J. Harvey with a year of experience under his belt. And now we've got Jonah Coleman, the rookie bowling ball, to come in and kind of, hopefully be able to get those 1 yard gains when we need them, those goal line type of situations when we need them that we just have struggled with for the last couple of years. But I thought it was interesting, when a microphone's put in front of people, sometimes the quotes that come out of their mouths are interesting. But I think it was Jonah Coleman. Actually, he called the running back unit a three-headed monster. Now, I guess that would insinuate that he's probably maybe going to play a bigger role than what maybe some people may think. I think most people think it's going to go JK is going to get the majority of the carries, and the secondary carries will probably go to RJ Harvey. We might see Jonah mixed in here or there, but Zach, what's your thoughts on kind of the first off, I guess, what Jonah had to say, but really more along the lines of what's your thoughts around kind of what that usage is going to look like, assuming everybody stays healthy?
It's going to be interesting. And my biggest question mark is going to be, how much influence does Davis Webb actually have on Sean Payton in the game planning and scheming each week? Because it's easy to abandon the run game when it's not working. And when JK went out last year, after his start to the season was epic, he was definitely going to be on pace to be a top, call it 5 to 10 running back if he stayed consistent. We dropped significantly after that, and we abandoned the run in most games. So I think that's what it ultimately comes down to. I think we've talked a little bit about this in the past. I think where we get frustrated with the Sean Payton offense is he doesn't ride the hot back. And these young dudes, RJ and Jonah, they're young. They need more reps. We know what JK can do. That's where I'm going to be really looking at, especially in training camp, to kind of see what the early split is. We'll probably bring JK pretty slow play him back, just coming back from the injury. But that's what I'm going to be, most curious to look at. And that will kind of determine it. But everyone says Jonah's the insurance policy for JK. So does he have a year? So he has a year to learn, and then if JK gets hurt, then he's in there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, the shelf life on running backs is pretty short, just typically. We know JK. I mean, look, I would love to see one full season from J.K. Dobbins. I think he has that ability to be a kind of game breaker type of, workhorse type of guy. But unfortunately, he's dealt with injuries throughout his career, even dating back to his time at Ohio State. So he's probably no longer that guy who can be a workhorse. He's going to have to have a number 2 guy and maybe even a number 3 guy that can take some of those carries away from him. So you don't have a guy, with 400 plus carries at the end of the year. I don't think we're going to see that from JK this year. I think the carries will probably be more split. But I like our running back room. I like where we sit. I would like to see, I don't have the numbers up right in front of me, but I think pretty sure Bo Nix either led the league in passing attempts or was really high up there in the number of passing attempts that he had. I think it was around 680, 85, something like that. I'd like to see that number come down a little bit. I'd like us to be able to rely on a running game. I think that that just sometimes you need that for your defense to recover. You need that ability to run out the clock when you've got a game in hand. And I think the Broncos have kind of been missing that for the last couple of years, or for quite some time, to be honest with you, where they could just turn around, hand the ball off, and know that you're going to be able to do that 3 straight times and pick up a first down. We haven't had that. So hopefully with the stable of backs, we are going to be able to have that. And that's something that I think could make a big difference for this defense as we look to, we've had this rotation of defensive linemen. We got to be able to keep them fresh. And I think the way to do that is on the offensive side of the ball.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I'll just say this really quick. I think since Sean Payton's been here, I think this is probably the most confidence he's had in a running back room. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. And I do think you're right, Zach. Davis Webb, there's a lot to be found out yet with regards to how much. I mean, man, Sean Payton has just made his whole entire career off of being a play caller. So it's going to be really interesting to see how easily he gives that up. That's hard to do when those old habits are built into you, they're ingrained into his system. Is he really going to be able to give up the entire, play calling from an offensive standpoint? We'll find out. I guess that's about as much as we can say.
I mean, I don't think Sean Payton's super petty and he would throw a coach underneath the bus in his first year being an offensive coordinator. There we go, Vince. But if we don't come out the gates fast and we struggle and we have inconsistencies, while on paper we've got the most loaded team we've had, I'm going to not talk about the tight end room because I think that's still rubbish. Who do you blame? We can only go so deep. I feel real good about the wide receiver room, potentially equally as good about the running back room. We still got too many backs. We're going to have to get rid of some. How do you scheme up gadget plays for Mims, for Jaleel? We already know Mims is talking in the offseason. He's not happy. He's gone. Let's just that's going to happen after this year. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree. One last piece of news that I wanted to touch on before we jump into our third segment. It has to deal with our reigning Super Bowl champion, the Seattle Seahawks. For those that didn't hear or didn't notice, the Seattle Seahawks were up for sale right after the Super Bowl, and they were sold for $9.6 billion to a guy who was a former minority owner to the 49ers, which I thought was kind of a funny little bit of I don't know, side news there, but what do you guys think? I mean, 9.6 billion for a football franchise seems a little bit ridiculous, but look, if there's ever a time to sell, you're selling at your highest point when you just won the Super Bowl. So I don't know, should be kind of crazy for the new guy coming in on the block. We'll see what changes he has in store for the Seahawks, but I think he bought at a good time. He's got a good squad.
Yeah, I mean, have we had a sale like this after a Super Bowl win? Like the Broncos were relatively close like a couple of years after, but it's weird. I mean, it probably feels different being a Seahawk fan and being in that community. But good for the Pass family who's cashing in there. They've made a lot of money. They've made 2 big sales in the past 3 years. So they're doing just fine. Hey, I think the Broncos purchase for the Penners looks even better now because their valuation's got to be close to 7.5, 8, even after a couple of years of buying the Broncos.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Vince, your thoughts on the Seahawks?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it further establishes football as king in this country. I mean, because the Lakers went for like 10 billion a few years ago, and I mean, like that's an organization that's won the second most NBA finals, or I think maybe they're tied with the Celtics now. Either way, they're 1 or 2 in the entire NBA for championships, and no disrespect to the Seahawks beyond what they deserve because of the Seahawks, but they have 2 Super Bowl wins, and so it's not like that was the Patriots. It's not like it was the Cowboys or the Steelers. Like if one of those, like you could call it blue bloods, call it upper echelon NFL franchises went for sale, it's going for more than that. And so I mean,
easily,
yeah. So I mean, yeah, a upper, I'll say top 10 franchise in the NFL sells for that much, and like they're not. Yeah, it's people love football in this country. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway in all of this. Some people every once in a while try to say that football is going to lose its favorability. That's not the case with the NIL money happening in college. That's not the case with franchises that aren't even the top of their sport going for 9 point some billion. So football's here to stay, and people are obsessed with it.
It's wild. They play with monopoly money. Most of us will never even be able to fathom what $9 billion would feel like to have, or anything like that. But look, more than anything, I thought the little twist of fate, the fact that it was a former minority owner of the 49ers, that kind of made me laugh. Just if you can't beat them, join them type of thing. And that was just the first thing and only thing that kept running through my head. But I think the Allen family, if I'm not mistaken, they were the previous owners, right? They, as you mentioned, they've done pretty well with their sale of sports teams over the last couple of years.
What was the other team that they had?
No, I forgot it.
I believe it was the Portland Trailblazers.
That's what I want to say. Yes, Portland Trailblazers. Yeah. That's who they sold them.
It's like $3 billion.
4.25 earlier this year.
Yeah.
So
not bad.
That's a lot. And I mean, most of the money they're just going to give to charity. I mean, it's an insane amount of money. It's crazy.
We can't even fathom. I hate to say it, but well, let's get to the fun part of tonight. We're going to dive into these NFL position rankings. We're going to try to put a little twist on it, at the end with a little game, a comparison game. But I did want to kind of briefly, walk through the lists just so people get an understanding of who's on the list and where they sit as far as rankings go. Vince, to your point earlier, the rankings probably don't mean diddly. It really isn't this is just a bunch of guys like the three of us sitting behind a computer screen putting rankings behind guys' names, and I don't think it means anything, to be quite honest with you. But the reason ESPN does this is they do it every year. They try to, put out the who are the best players in the NFL right now. I know it's something that gets highly debated between fans, from team to team. But I thought it was a good thing a good thing to go through, and then, like I said, at the end we'll kind of have a little bit of fun with it. But we talked a little bit about the quarterbacks. I don't think the top guy at the list, Josh Allen's the surprise. But I'll just kind of read through the top 10, and then I'll ask you guys if anybody stands out, or if anybody, we kind of touched on it. But Josh Allen, number 1, Patrick Mahomes, number 2, Stafford, number 3, Joe Burrow, number 4. That one was a little surprise to me coming off of an injury. But Lamar Jackson at 5, Dak at 6, ? Justin Herbert at 7, Drake May at 8, Jared Goff at 9, and Caleb Williams at 10. I guess I'll start. Like I said, Joe Burrow, to me, that's a little high. I'm not questioning his talent. I'm just thinking, he's coming off of an injury-riddled season where he didn't play a whole lot. And I thought Drake May was a little low on the list. I thought last year he had an absolutely incredible year, even though I can't stand the Patriots. I'll give credit where credit's due. So what's your initial, knee-jerk reaction on the quarterback list?
Drake May shouldn't be in the top 10, in my opinion.
I completely agree with you. He shouldn't be in the top 15.
I was just looking at the honorable mention and also receiving votes. I would take CJ Stroud and Bo Nix over him. I would take Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels, and hell, Sam Darnold beat him in the Super Bowl. So I'll take almost everybody else on the list. I'll give him. I'll say I'd take Drake May over. Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. No, Drake May went to North Carolina. I graduated from Duke. I'm taking Daniel Jones over Drake May too. Forget him. So no, he shouldn't be on the list. So no.
I hope I'm wrong. Please let me be wrong. I would love nothing more than the Patriots to think they have their quarterback of the future, only for him to stink. That would be my ultimate wish.
I genuinely feel like they made it to the Super Bowl in spite of him. Like, it's not because of him. And you don't have – if you're going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, your team should be winning not in spite of you. Like, you don't have to be the driving force, but they can be winning in spite of you. And they won in Denver in spite of him. And I think you can make that case in the divisional round too. He didn't have great numbers. His best production in that game was on the ground, not through throwing it. I mean, like, I get that's part of the game, but like, I'll stop there. I could keep going.
No, that's accurate. Zach,
my two biggest question marks, and I'm looking at this again. Dak Prescott, number 6. He was unranked last year. The Cowboys are going to cowboy. Herbert gets a lot of love. When he's good, he's good. He's not great. Like, I don't put him in the top 10 ever. Maybe he's like sniffing there, but when he's bad, it's bad. Yeah. It's really, really bad. And that's why the Chargers Charger, and he does not have a playoff win. So yeah, I got a lot of question marks here. I think Baker is really overlooked. And for years when we were in the pit of misery, I would have loved Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Like 4 years ago, Baker would have done great here. Instead of Russ, we probably wouldn't have Bo Nix. We'd still have Baker Mayfield. That dude resurrected his career. So yeah, meh. I mean, and Burrow, like, he can't stay healthy. Burrow should be a top 3 quarterback every year. Lamar took a little bit of dip. Mahomes probably a little bit higher than he should have been. He didn't have a great season last year.
Yeah.
Chiefs didn't have a good season last year. People just love Mahomes.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sam Darnold is the one who probably is the most disrespected.
Yeah.
I mean, over the last season, I mean, he's put back-to-back years together that have been pretty great. He's been, they won the Super Bowl. So I don't know. I agree. Again, I hope I'm wrong about Drake May. I would love, and look, they played the easiest schedule, I think, in the NFL last year. So I think that was probably another part of the unwritten part of why Drake May's numbers looked so good. We'll see what he does against a AFC champion type of schedule. But all right, let's shift over to running backs. At number 1, we've got Bijan Robinson. Number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 3, Saquon Barkley. Number 4, Christian McCaffrey. Number 5, Jonathan Taylor. Number 6, Derrick Henry. Number 7, James Cook. Number 8, Devon Achane. Number 9, Kenneth Walker. And number 10, Breece Hall. Zach, any issues with that list?
I think it's pretty good. If JK played a full season, he would have had numbers that would have put him on that list for sure. But he didn't. So no snubs there. Just shout out to Derrick Henry. Dude is, I think, turning like 33 or 34 this year. Still elite. And that we were talking about before, like longevity and like your shelf life for running back is like typically 5 to 6 years. This dude is just like defying time. It's incredible to see him. I guess the only thing I was surprised about, Kenneth Walker being that low. I thought he had a stellar season. I hate that the Chiefs picked him up. I don't think he'll have the same effect that he had in Seattle, but I thought he was a little bit lower than he should have been.
Vince?
Yeah, I don't really have any issues with this. I mean, like, that all these guys are incredibly talented and good players. I will say I'm surprised at Quinshon Judkins being in the honorable mention as opposed to just also receiving votes, because he had the suspension where he missed games. He came in and he got injured early. I know, so it was a relatively small sample size, but like, not to throw out coach speak, but your best ability is availability, and he wasn't available for all that much of the season last year. I mean, like, yeah, sure, he looked good, but I don't know. That would be the one that I would maybe point out as I would move around, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That was the only one on the entire list, whether you're talking honorable mentions or anything, was the Quinshon Judkins. Everything you said, Vince, he was suspended, then he got hurt relatively early. You got to prove it to me for more than the 5 games or whatever you played in. I have no issue with the actual top 10 list. I think a lot of those guys are kind of interchangeable. They could, to me, look, I like Bijan Robinson, but to me, the best running back in the league is Jahmyr Gibbs. I just think he's a game breaker type of guy. And that's not to say Bijan isn't. He certainly is. But look, there's no arguing with that top 10 list. I think they're all well-deserved to be in the top 10. Moving to tight ends, it's a little surprising that Brock Bowers was number 1 to me. But number 1, Brock Bowers. Number 2, Trey McBride. Number 3, George Kittle. Number 4, Sam Laporta. Number 5, Tyler Warren. Number 6, Tucker Kraft. Number 7, Colston Loveland. Number 8, Kyle Pitts. Number 9, Mark Andrews. And number 10, the old reliable Kelsey. Vince, what's your take on the tight ends?
Yeah, so I have an issue with you, Eric. You mispronounced number 2 on the list. His full name is CSU alumni Trey McBride. And so let's make sure we get that right. Okay. I mean, Brock Bowers is amazing. He's as talented as I think you can see at the tight end position. But Trey McBride, the last 2 seasons, he's been putting up like Hall of Fame type numbers for the tight end position. And yes, I am biased because he's a CSU alumni, as am I. But like, you're out there to produce, and he's been producing, and he's been relatively healthy over those seasons too. And I mean, yeah, I would put Trey McBride number 1, bias aside. I just think his production is there, but Brock Bowers causes a lot of problems. He's incredible, and we don't talk about fantasy football a lot on this show, but we sort of mention it behind the scenes. over my course of playing fantasy football, tight end has always been an issue where like you only have a handful of people that are worth drafting. I'd say over the past couple of years, there is more talent at the tight end position than I can remember for the majority of my life. You talk about like people like Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland coming in this past year and producing as rookies. Then you have Bowers and McBride, just to name a few. There's a lot of really talented players playing the tight end position right
now. Yeah. Yeah. I will say, to my defense, I was going to, if I would have went first, I would have said, and I'll correct myself, CSU alum Trey McBride should have been number one on the list. So we don't talk about fantasy football that often on this show, but last year I drafted Brock Bowers, and I will never draft Brock Bowers again because he sucked all year last year. And I have this rule for myself that I don't ever go in. Every year I go into a fantasy draft thinking, all right, this year we're taking no Raiders. That's literally the only team I will not draft from. And last year was just too good. He's like in the third round and he's sitting there and I'm like, okay, I got to take him. And then he was not good. So I'll get off my soapbox. Zach, what's your thoughts on the tight ends?
The biggest takeaway for me is like, I think 3 of these guys were hurt at some point. Kittle, Tucker Kraft. I can't remember the last one. And still had pretty darn good seasons, pretty productive. The depth has just gotten much better at tight end. I'm trying to think of any snubs. I don't think there were anything that bad. That this looks pretty solid to me. Dalton Kincaid was right on the edge, which makes sense. In Buffalo, they kind of have 2 tight ends anyway. Cole Kmet. Also solid. I know there was definitely some rumors of linking him to the Broncos. Would love Cole Kmet. Yeah, nothing else too surprising here.
The only other thing, I guess, not a surprise, but there's no Broncos on the list. I don't want to ruin that for anybody, but not even an honorable mention or also receive votes. Nobody. So let's move to offensive tackles where there is a Bronco on the list. So number 1, we've got Penei Sewell. Number 2, Trent Williams. Number 3, Tristan Wirfs. Number 4, Jordan Mailata. Number 5, Laramie Tunsil. Number 6, Darnell Wright. Number 7, Lane Johnson. Number 8, Andrew Thomas. Number 9, Joe Alt. And number 10, the first Bronco on the list, Garrett Bowles. Zach, what's your takeaway on the offensive tackles?
Solid list. Glad Bowlesy made it. Going through it, he is by other than Lane Johnson, the oldest guy on here. Trent Williams, I forgot Trent. So longevity game. The fact that these dudes are putting up these types of seasons that old is incredible. I don't like the Chargers at all, but I thought Rashawn Slater should probably be in the top 10. That dude's a stud.
Yeah. Probably over Joe Alt, right? I mean, I
agreed. Yeah,
because Alt didn't play.
Yeah. So that was my only kind of surprise there. I think Slater's just better. Deion Dawkins, potential other one. That dude's like really fun, captivating. If you guys watched Hard Knocks, he was like a character on that show. So I would have liked to seen him crack in there, but glad we got one in on the offensive tackles. We got another one come up a different position there, but good for Bowlesy.
Yeah, let's Vince, I'll get to you on the interior offensive linemen. So real quickly, we've got Tyler Smith, number 1, number 2, Quentin Nelson, number 3, Creed Humphrey, number 4, our very own Quinn Meinertz, number 5, Joe Thuney, number 6, Chris Lidstrom, number 7, Trey Smith, number 8, Tyler Linderbaum, number 9, Peter Skoronski, and number 8, Aaron Brewer. So Quinn Meinertz checking in the number 4 interior offensive lineman. Vince, what's your thoughts? You think that's a good spot for him?
Yeah, I do. I think it's hard, more so than any other offensive line position, to sort of grade out the guards. But I mean, I think Quinn Meinertz is great. I remember during the draft process, all the press he was getting because of how he liked to work out with his jersey up over his stomach. So that as your first impression, you get a little bit of a class clown vibe, but like he's a hard worker. He's been consistent. Like, what more would you want from any offensive lineman, let alone one of your guards.
Yeah. I remember those days very well. Watching him at training camp with a jersey that people were like, hey, does it go down over his belly? But then we all became very fond of him once we saw him start planting guys and realized what we had. So couldn't be happier with him as one of our interior guys. We'll try to pick this up because I do want to get to the fun part about this. But defensive tackles, I'll just kind of skip ahead. So Zach Allen made the list. He chimes in at number 8 for the Broncos. I think there were a couple of other guys. I think that's kind of a deserved spot. Maybe could see him being a tick or two higher, but I think that's kind of right in line with where he should be. Edge rushers, man, the edge rushers that are in the league today is just, that list is so strong. Myles Garrett, number 1, Micah Parsons, number 2, Will Anderson Jr., number 3, Max Crosby, number 4, Aiden Hutchinson, number 5, Daniel Hunter, number 6, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Brian Burns, and at number 10, our very own Nick Bonito. Zach, do you think is that too high for Bonito, or do you think that's right in line with kind of where he fits in the scheme of the NFL edge rushing world?
I think it's a great spot for him, and hopefully it lights a fire that he even tries to push more this season. He seems like a humble dude, like in all his interviews, which I really appreciate. Still kind of an underrated player, even with the productive season he has. So I think it's a good position for him.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I mean, Jared Verse got honorable mention, and he just got traded for Myles Garrett. So you're ahead of him, and
yeah,
I think that's a great spot for him too. Really happy for Nick to make that list. Lastly, and I know we didn't hit every position group. So at the time of that this came out, there were a couple position groups. Wide receiver, I think, was one of them, and safeties is another that hadn't been put out yet by ESPN. But we'll finish it up with cornerbacks. Obviously, number 1 overall, the number 1 lockdown cornerback in the entire NFL. We've got Pat Surtain. Derek Stingley Jr., number 2. Christian Gonzalez, number 3. Devin Witherspoon, number 4. Trent McDuffie, number 5. Quinion Mitchell, number 6. Denzel Ward, number 7. J.C. Horn, number 8. Sauce Gardner, number 9. And Cooper DeJean, checking in at number 10. Funny thing is, I think he might actually be being moved to safety. I guess we'll find out, when rosters come out. But let's jump to what we really want to kind of have some fun with, and this is our fun twist to this list. We could talk about these lists all day, every day, but what we thought would be fun today is we want to take the guys who were called out in the Denver Bronco players that were called out in those lists, and we want to do a comparison to the TV show that we think best aligns with that said player. And I'm actually going to start with Sean Payton. I know Sean Payton wasn't on the list, but as Bronco fans, look, we have to have some symmetry around here, and John Elway is the GOAT when it comes to most Bronco fans. So we wanted to have 7 guys because of John Elway's number 7. So we're going to start with Sean Payton. So Vince, I'm going to start with you. What's your TV show that you liken to Sean Payton?
I'm going to say Malcolm in the Middle. I think Sean Payton places himself at the center of everything. I think it has to be his way or the highway. I think if things are going to go well, it's going to be his idea. If it's not, it's going to be someone else's blame. That's what I think of Sean Payton, but he's a pretty good guy to have in charge. Just like Malcolm was a pretty good fallback plan for their entire family and all the issues that they had. He seemed to fix a lot of them. Sean Payton came in and he's fixed a lot of issues. So He's good at his job. He just likes to point the finger anywhere but the guy that he sees in the mirror.
Love it. Love it. Zach, what do you think?
I am going to Game of Thrones for Sean Payton because he's freaking power hungry, but also super hated. So I'm going like Joffrey Baratheon, or however you say his name. You know, it's like one of the most hated TV characters of all time. That is Sean Payton. That is also why we just get kind of dumped on. Refs hate us. Power trip. Game of Thrones. Eric, what do you think for Sean?
What's so funny is we did not, just so everybody knows, we did not discuss our answers with each other before this. There's some definite symmetry here with regards to our answers. I said Succession. And why Succession? Because he is cold, hyper calculated, completely driven by ego, and totally corporate. His sideline expressions look like a board meeting where someone brought him a cold coffee. That's Sean Payton. So I think we kind of all had a little bit of, I think we know who Sean Payton is pretty well. Let's jump to Bo Nix. Zach, I'm interested to hear your TV comparison for Bo.
I had a tough one with Bo. This is how I feel about him in general. He's given me Ted Lasso vibes, the underdogs, and Bo continues to be at that, like, whatever he said after his ankle surgery, like he's gonna be better. The league should watch out. He didn't hit the top 10. The league should watch out again. People generally like him. Comes from a small town. So that's what I went with. I don't know. That was a difficult one. He also doesn't have like an insane personality, so I couldn't like attach him to something. Vince, what do you think for Mr. Nix?
So I'm not attaching him to any specific character in the show, but I see him as similar to the TV show Arrested Development. And the reason why the reason why I say this is he came into the league with questions and doubts. But those of us who believe and appreciate him, like, we swear by him. He is our guy. Arrested Development was not appreciated by a lot of people. It was like sort of the forerunner of cringe comedy in America and was not appreciated at its time. But those of us who appreciate Bo Nix, like, we don't want to deal with anybody else. We saw what it was to not have a good quarterback, and we trust him. He may not be the flashiest and has some quirky moments, just like Arrested Development, but he is excellent at what he does. The question is, will the injury arrest his development and shorten his prime the way the Netflix continuance did of Arrested Development? Or will he be given you guys are making me laugh, or will he have or be given the ability to continually operate under what he does best? Broncos need to not hamper him.
I love it. So I'm gonna, again, we did not talk about these beforehand. Zach, I said Ted Lasso. So Bo Nix is the Ted Lasso guy, in my opinion. The perfect counterweight to Sean Payton. He runs the offense on pure believe energy. He acts as the supporting point guard who just wants to execute the system and make sure everyone gets a touch. To me, that's Bo Nix. Look, I'm sure he has a fire that burns deep down inside of him, and he's definitely a competitor. We all know that. And I think that's kind of the underlying part of Ted Lasso that goes, not Ted specifically, but there are guys on that show who they have that same competitive edge. And even though they are a team that gets relegated, I don't want to ruin it for people that may not have watched, but ultimately there is a competitive fire there that I think fits very nicely with Bo Nix. I'm gonna take the lead on Quinn Meinerz. I think the guy is Yellowstone all over him. He's the physical enforcement on the offensive line. He plays like he just walked out of the Montana Wilderness Lodge, ready to defend his land by any means necessary. It's just pure Dutton Ranch energy to me. We talked about his belly. He's got his signature belly breathe. He's just an offensive lineman at heart. He is kind of the heartbeat of that offensive line, and I think Yellowstone was kind of the perfect show for him. Vince, what's your take on Quinn Meinerz?
I went with a similar vibe. I said deadliest catch. I said gritty, not glamorous or attention demanding, but got a lot of attention early on. Again, talking about like the draft process and how he was kind of a quirky guy. Got a lot of attention early on, like deadliest catch did. That was all the rave back in the day. But the show's still going. It's still doing the same thing, just like Quinn Meinerz. Like he may not be the forefront. He's not the guy doing all the pressers, but you know who he is by his play. And what more could you ask for from an offensive lineman?
Zach?
And Eric, I was real close to you. I went with Landman.
All right.
So we were right there. Not a lot of glitz and glamour. He still got his money, but the belly's out. He's a grinder. You know, he's on the rigs. That's what I'm putting him at.
Yeah, I think that's God. I could just picture him. I'm sure he wears them all the time, but I just picture that guy in cowboy hat and cowboy boots everywhere he goes. Zach, we'll start with you since it's the name game. Why don't we do Zach Allen?
Ooh, Zach Allen. For him, I went Friday Night Lights. Blue collar, team first kind of guy. Just like I really like watching him in his press conferences. He just like has this like just tons of energy, but he's like young at heart, and he's kind of like feels like the hometown guy, even though we didn't draft him. He's not from here. I just feel good when I hear from Zach Allen, and I liked Friday Night Lights, so that's where I kind of put him.
Nice, Vince.
All right, this one's gonna seem a little bit out there, but stick with me. I'll explain it. I said the TV, and it's purely because I was thinking of like how the overall franchise works. Okay, I am going to say the TV show Frasier. Okay, and the reason why is because Frasier is the most successful spinoff of any TV show ever. Zach Allen started with the Cardinals, wasn't like an all-pro there, but then he spins off, he comes to the Broncos, and he has all-pro years, year after year, and has become one of the most dominant defensive linemen in the NFL. You know, was a part of a cast, an ensemble that, you know, didn't fully use his potential in Arizona, comes to Denver, becomes a leading man, shows his full range. I think he's Frasier, the sitcom.
Nice. For Zach Allen, I went with Game of Thrones. So I know we were a couple guys off, but to me, Zach Allen is the Jon Snow of the defense. He's always covered. He's always covered in dirt, always looks exhausted. He treats the third and four pass rush like it's a matter of life and death for the entire realm. And when the camera cuts to him, you know, you see him breathing heavily. He's down on a knee, or he's got, you know, he's kneeling on his helmet. You just expect some dramatic speech that he's going to talk about, you know, how winter is coming to the AFC West. So that's who I think Zach Allen reminds me of, the TV show Game of Thrones. Vince, I know I'm going to go first on Garrett Bowles because I want to get to you first on the next guy. But so for Garrett Bowles, I picked Survivor. He's an absolute Iron Man. He's survived multiple coaching staff purges, the endless quarterback carousels that he's seen, the years of fan scrutiny, but yet he's still here. So to me, Garrett Bowles and Survivor were a perfect match. Zach, what do you think about Garrett Bowles?
I like that. I went similar theme. I went Cheers. You know, everyone knows him. Long standing in the room. Cheers wasn't like the most longest running show. I think 11 years, but just like has that kind of vibe. Dependable, beloved by everybody, good dude. You know, now he's kind of like aging like fine wine. So I went with Cheers.
Yeah. Vince?
I said Parks and Rec, and the reason why is because he had some issues early on. Dude was always getting holding calls. People did not love Parks and Rec, and most of Broncos country did not love Garrett Bowles for the first handful of years because of all his holding penalties. But as time went on, he developed into one of the best at what they do. And Zach just said aging like fine wine. By the end, Parks and Rec was one of the best sitcoms around, and Garrett Bowles, he's at a top 10 tackle in the NFL. I honestly don't think I ever would have thought that during his first contract with the Broncos.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't expect him to be a top 10 guy, that's for sure. But he's come a long way. All right, so now we're down to the final two. And Vince, we're going to go back to back. I know this was when we texted about the theme here. You had called out and said, I really want to get this guy. So I'm going to give you Pat Surtain to start.
Okay. There is no higher compliment that I could bestow upon anyone or anything than what I'm about to say. Patrick Surtain is The Wire. He is I think The Wire is the greatest television show ever made, in my opinion. Patrick Surtain came into the league and was instantly one of the best corners in the game. That doesn't happen really at any position, but he did. And I mean, by and large, Alabama players from Nick Saban, they have moments in the NFL, but they're not players that ascend to like absolute stardom. Patrick Surtain is one of the exceptions to that role. He is just a thoroughbred. Came into the league, dominated, and has only gotten better over time, just like The Wire. There's no comparison to him. He's at the top of his game week in, week out, every single season. I would say this past year was a down year from the year before, in which he was the defensive player of the year. And yet he's still first team All-Pro. What more could you ask for? He's the best. Therefore, I went with the best TV show ever made, The Wire.
Love it. Love it. Zach?
The Wire was in contention. 100% in contention. I went with Mad Men. He gives me some Don Draper vibes. Cool, collected, kind of, operates like a technician, just like kind of flawless, super polished. He's flashy, kind of like Don Draper was at that time. Now, obviously, PS2 is dressing a little bit different time, but just a killer on the field, just like Don Draper was. But I had a second one ready to go, and this is my second. Wire is my third. Ozark, kind of just like an ice cold killer, and you never get beat. You're kind of one step ahead. It's like Jason Bateman in that role in Ozark. I loved it, and it was maniacal. I kind of feel like PS2's got a little bit of that edge to him as well.
Yeah.
I think of him as Omar Little. Like they always say, Omar coming. You don't throw the ball at Patrick Surtain because you know he's coming. Sorry, I jumped back in there, but
no, I love it. I love it. So I took a similar theme, and mine is not any particular character in the show. It's just the show, because much like Vince, your thoughts on The Wire. One of my favorite shows of all time is Breaking Bad. And Breaking Bad to me was one of those TV shows that when it came out and when I watched it every week, I wanted to make sure I saw, or I guess it wasn't weekly when it was streaming, but that's kind of what it felt like. Was when I was watching episodes, I was on the edge of my seat every episode. And with Patrick Surtain, he's just a master of leverage, a master of spacing and angles. He's precise. He's scientific on his side of the field. And, the one thing that we can pretty much rest assured when he's out on the field and you're not hearing his name called, there's a reason why you're not hearing his name called. And that's because the quarterback of that other team is not throwing the ball to that side of the field. And, that's probably the biggest compliment you can get as a cornerback. When your name doesn't get called, that just means they're not throwing the ball at you. And that's, to me, is Pat Surtain. All right, the last guy on the list, Nick Bonito. Zach, we'll finish us up with Nick Bonito.
Nick Bonito. I went Stranger Things with Nick Bonito. Just like completely unpredictable and electric, and you never know what you're going to get. And I think that was like, we didn't know Nick Benito was going to be like this. Drafted not relatively too high, had a couple down years, and now he's just turned it on, and he's super exciting to watch. And now you can't look away. Pretty much just like Stranger Things.
Nice. Vince?
All right. So again, this is another one that requires explanation, but I said The Office, the U.S. version, and here is why. The Office, the U.S. version, was not seen as a good idea because people are like, how could you possibly replicate the British Office? How could anybody have possibly come in and filled Von Miller's shoes? You can't. Yet Nick Benito has come in and played his own way and played his own style. No, he is not Von Miller in his prime, but Nick Benito is pretty good. I don't think I was crestfallen when we traded Von. I got it. We needed draft capital. We needed to rebuild. I didn't think we were going to find anybody in the draft who would come anywhere close to him. Nick Benito is not Von Miller, but he's pretty close. Just like the U.S. version of The Office is not the same as the British one, but it's legendary in its own right.
Yeah, I love it. What's great is every single one of these shows that we have mentioned tonight, I've pretty much watched every episode of each one of these shows. So I love where this whole conversation has gone. I'm going to round us out with Nick Benito. This is the old version. Okay, so I'll date myself a little bit here. This was the show that was on in the 80s. The 80s Miami Vice. Pure speed, flash, bend, living electrically, entirely on the perimeter where everything moves fast. He doesn't get, he typically tries to avoid the dirt. He can be a run stuffer, but that's not his primary job. He's not rushing from up the middle. He wants to coast around the edge like a speedboat on South Beach. He plays with that level of finesse that feels like it belongs under neon lights rather than a freezing winter afternoon in Mile High. I think that's a perfect way to cap off our TV show comparison episode. I think hopefully you guys enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun to be able to do. We don't always do the cookie cutter things. We try to have fun. We try to make this an enjoyable listen and an enjoyable watch. So, but that does bring us to the end of our episode tonight. Definitely want to thank everybody for watching. Again, thank you guys all for getting us up over 110 subscribers in YouTube. Let's keep that pushing. As we get closer to the season, we'd love to see that number keep growing. But really, we can't do it on our own. So everybody keep that word of mouth going. And until next week, we will see you guys then. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.